Welcome to Mayo Clinic Q&A. I'm Dr. Sanj Kakar. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many people are under orders to remain at home. This raises concerns for those whose domestic life may be in an abusive situation. In addition to the pandemic, this is called financial burdens and emotional stress, which can increase the likelihood of domestic violence. With us to discuss these very important issues, Mayo Clinic social worker, Kubista Owen. Thanks for joining us, Amanda.
Thank you.
Amanda, can you tell us, obviously in the last 3 months, we've been talking a lot about COVID-19 and how it affects us physically, but what are you seeing in terms of emotionally regarding abuse of patients at home?
A lot of us understand how incredibly stressful it can be to need to be in our home all of the time. And when you couple that with a person that's already in an abusive relationship, whether it be emotional, physical, mental, financial, we see these increased stressors causing probably more increased abuse in whatever form that we're seeing it. So I work in a domestic violence sexual assault program at Mayo Clinic here in Southwest Wisconsin, and I've received some calls that, you know, many people that I work with are isolated in their homes and they don't know what resources are available to them or understand how they safely could leave their situation now given the circumstances that we're under.
So Amanda, obviously now with stay-at-home orders, both partners are staying at home as well as children. Have you seen changes in who's being abused and how that's happening?
I certainly have seen an increase in all types of abuse across the board. What I see is that people that were experiencing abuse previous to COVID-19, now it seems like those situations have increased, become more dangerous, and we're seeing that not only with domestic violence, but childhood sexual assault or human trafficking, sexual assault, intimate partner violence, all sorts of ways in which we see vulnerable populations are even more vulnerable at this time.
We're also seeing the economic burden of COVID-19. As you see, unemployment rates are up. Is this also affecting the type of abuse patients are subjected to?
If you think about economic abuse as it is, it's a form of an abuse where one person is controlling the finances of a family, and oftentimes the person that's being abused, their finances are restricted. They're not allowed to work, or if they are working, perhaps their money is taken from them right away. I've worked with individuals who said, you know, I raised 5 children, taking care of all of their basic needs on $50 a week. Pretty resourceful, pretty amazing. And now when you look at a situation where many people are unemployed, many people don't have any kind of income coming in, you're going to see those stressors increase. And when you see stress increase, you're going to see increased instances of abuse, whether it's economic, whether it's physical. It all kind of just bubbles up, and at times you'll see it come out in many different ways.
If I've been a victim of abuse before, how does one keep one safe? Is there any safeguards they can put in place to protect themselves?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways, and now given the fact that we have safe at home, it's going to be different. We don't have the resources in a way that we had them before, although there's many things that you can do to protect yourself or to develop a plan for safety. So many things that I've done is I've done safety planning over the phone with people who have called in to our clinic, and we've talked about, you know, having a cell phone if that's possible, or if you have an old cell phone, those will call 911 always, as long as it can turn on and it has power. So I'll talk to people about having, you know, maybe a couple cell phones hidden around the home if they need to. I'll also talk to them about trying to connect, if possible, with a support person. As we're seeing now, people are more isolated. So that might be in a virtual way if that's possible, FaceTime or different ways to reach out if that's a safe thing to do. Also having a getaway bag packed or an exit strategy is something that's really important. If you're able to talk to your neighbors and let them know what's going on, perhaps they can help you. I've had people develop a code with their neighbor, like if they've called them and said, hey, I need maybe a cup of sugar or something, that's their plan, and their cue to call 911 maybe. Also, when you're getting ready to leave, packing those essential things if you need to leave, making sure you have your medications, making sure you have that important documentation that you might need to get into a shelter perhaps. Like your ID or birth certificate or those important documents. Of course, having a few basic things like clothing and toothbrush and that thing if you can. But those other important items that you would want to think about is maybe an extra set of keys to get out or to get into the car, like those kinds of things are important for safety planning.
And what about things like money, or if you have children in the house that you're worried about as well? What sort of protections or plan should you be thinking of in advance?
You definitely want your plan to be age appropriate for your child, right? So depending on what your child is able to understand and comprehend, but letting them know what's going on if you can and it's safe to do so, of what the exit plan is or safety plan is. Letting them know that you're a safe person to talk to. So if something's happening to them, that they can come and talk to you and it's okay and you're going to be safe and get help for them. We're already financially strapped. Our shelters are essential services right now, our domestic violence shelters. So if you're in need of an emergency shelter, you can access those. Some places do have some financial assistance if needed. If you're able to squirrel away money in a sense, do so. But right now, I know that's going to be a harder thing to do. There are some social services agencies out there that are available. The advocates at the agencies for domestic violence and sexual assault will know what services can help as well.
And if I'm a friend or a family member of somebody who I know has had a history of being abused in the past, what can I do from my perspective?
If you know they have a history or even just a current situation going on, is be there to listen to them. Don't give them an ultimatum of, if you don't leave them, I can't support you any longer. That's even isolating that person further. In this situation, if we're able to offer them a safe place to stay with their shelter in place, you could do that. That'd be a great thing. Because sometimes people don't necessarily feel safe going to an emergency shelter for help, and maybe their support person would be a better option for them. Be available to them to listen ultimately, and try to be creative and safe about how you can do that. Oftentimes when we're in a situation in an abusive situation and you're isolated, it may not be safe for them to necessarily talk to you on the phone or something else, but maybe there's a different way you can figure that out with them. But trust that person knows what's safest for them as well.
So Amanda, are there any resources or services available that our listeners should be aware of?
So there definitely are some resources that are available. Depending on where you live, what state you're from, the county that you live in, or the state that you live in has a coalition, a domestic violence or sexual assault coalition, so you can look that up. So if you're able to Google resources or just say domestic violence resources in my area, you can usually navigate to those websites rather quickly and find out what resources are available for you in your area. It's hard to say in these times specifically who exactly is offering what types of resources, but those websites have been kind of kept up to date at the state level. They also have a quick exit button. So if you're in a situation where may not be essentially safe for you to be looking up these websites, but you have to do so quickly or exit quickly, you can quickly hit that button and leave those websites. So that's where I would definitely recommend someone to go to. There's also national hotlines available. It's usually just going on a Google search for your area.
Our thanks to Mayo Clinic social worker Amanda Kubista Owen. Thanks for joining us, Amanda.
Thank you very much.
Mayo Clinic Q&A is a production of the Mayo Clinic News Network and is available wherever you get and subscribe to your favorite podcasts. To see a list of all Mayo Clinic podcasts, visit newsnetwork.mayoclinic.org. Then click on Podcasts. Thanks for listening, and be well. We hope you'll offer a review of this and other episodes when the option is available. Comments and questions can also be sent to Mayo Clinic News Network at mayo.edu.